Greetings and welcome to Retention Chronicles, the podcast with learnings from expert e-commerce brands and partners. I'm your host, Mariah Parsons. If you're here, you're either on a quest for e-commerce enlightenment or you accidentally clicked the wrong link. Either way, I am thrilled you stumbled into our corner of the internet, and I hope you'll stick around. We've got pearls of wisdom for everyone, whether you're running a multi-million-dollar business or simply just starting out on your entrepreneurial journey. Before we unleash the brilliance of today's guest, let's give a shout out to our podcast sponsor, Malomo. Malomo is so much more than just another Shopify app. They're post-purchase wizards, making beautiful and branded order tracking smoother than a jazz solo, so our amazing founders, like our guests, can keep their customers happy and up to date while they track their orders. So hit that subscribe button, like it'll increase your LTV overnight, and go listen to our other episodes at gomalomo.com. That's GOMALOMO.com. Get ready for insights, chuckles, and perhaps a profound realization or two with this newest episode of Retention Chronicles. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Retention Chronicles. Glad to have you here. And we are joined by Dallas Parsons, which we share a last name. Not related, but I had to call it out on this podcast just because we were talking about it before we hopped on and in our emails. It's rare that I get to interview someone who has the same last name as me and no connection. So thank you, Dallas, for joining us today. I'm going to have you start with our normal introduction, which is just give a little background on yourself and where you're currently at in the e-com space.
Hey, cool. My background is actually in customer service and customer experience. I really think that helped set the stage for me to launch my career now into customer lifecycle marketing and retention, because I had been in the nitty-gritty with customers for years and, was responsible for replying to hundreds of questions, and I was able to gain a lot of insight into the customer journey just from that perspective. So that's helped me in a lot of ways in my career. So
I bet it does. Yeah. Being the forefront, being at the forefront, or the front lines of customer interaction, I feel like the rate of growth that you see in learnings in that seat is just astronomical. And I say that from not having formally sat in that seat, but just learning from secondhand experience. So I applaud you for being having a background in that. And then can you tell us more about your position at Mixhers, what your main responsibilities are? We'll dive into it, of course, in the podcast, but want to give our listeners a little bit of context there.
Yeah, so I'll give you context about Mixhers first. So Mixhers makes hormone-friendly supplements that you sip for every stage of womanhood. So our flagship product is called Her Time. And it helps you with your PMS and your menstrual cycle. And we currently have a product lineup of 15 hormone-friendly, all natural supplements that are geared towards women's health. So it's really fun to be in this space, especially as a woman, and just feel like you're making an impact there in so many women's lives. My role here, I'm, like I said, the director of lifecycle marketing. So I oversee everything post-purchase, even into some lead stuff. So I do email campaigns, flows, SMS campaigns and flows. I oversee our loyalty program, referral program, and then our app push notifications. So, and it's just me right now.
Yep.
It's small enough.
I relate to you on that. Yep. Small and mighty teams, right?
Yes.
Find a lot of them in the e-commerce space for sure.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, that's wonderful. Great. So I'm very excited to dive into some of the more lifecycle side of things. But I'm curious, just from a high level, if you know it, having your flagship product and then rolling out additional products, I guess the question is, was it a rollout of one product at a time, or did you kind of launch batches at a time? Did you start with that? Is it called Her Time with the first product?
Yeah. It's Her Time.
Okay. So how is from a high level rolling out those different SKUs?
Yeah. So I wasn't here at the very, very beginning, but it was kind of one at a time, we started with her time. And then we really listened to our customers to hear what were their struggles, what were they dealing with their health, or what, alternative holistic solutions were they looking for? And then we provided, a supplement geared towards that specific thing. One thing that's really cool is that the co-founder, her name's Cody Sanders. She's so incredible, like absolutely brilliant. She actually formulates all of our products. So
Wow.
she's a holistic health practitioner and functional nutritionist. And just a wealth of knowledge. Like it is seriously so powerful and incredible to work alongside her. So I've loved it.
I love that so much. Okay, that is awesome. I love hearing people's backgrounds and then how it, shapes maybe an entrepreneurial journey like it sounds like it has
Yeah.
with your co-founder. So one of the things that I love to ask our guests about is challenges. I think there's a lot of learnings and successes, but sometimes there's even more learnings and challenges. So, can you walk us through what have been, I guess, historically your challenge? Have you had challenges in this role? Have you been able to solve them? If not, how are you continuing to solve them? Let's dive into just high level some things that you've learned along the way.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I actually started at Mixhers as their customer support manager. So those challenges and hurdles that I faced at the very beginning of working here looked
Yep.
a little bit different. But as far as the life cycle marketing side of things, um, I think the biggest thing was actually learning how to do my job. Uh,
Uh-huh.
I this was a brand new role to me. It was previously owned by other people, but it wasn't like a single person. And we were much smaller back then. And, the team members who were working on it were just wearing lots of different hats. And it wasn't necessarily the most top of mind thing to be working on email and SMS. And so when I started, it was very exciting because I
Uh-huh.
had so much opportunity to like really make an impact because it wasn't like those things were necessarily, I don't know, I don't fault anyone for it, but they weren't necessarily like the things that were top of mind that were like moving the needle and thought through in like briefs and that kind of thing. So um one hurdle was that I was brand new to all of these things. So I was learning Klaviyo and emails and learning how to utilize the customer properties and building out segments, creating flows, automation, like literally everything.
Yep.
Um, I was just starting from the bottom. So that was a huge hurdle. And one way that I solved for that is through Liz, which is actually how we connected.
Mm-hmm.
And I found Liz and she's my mentor. And I I just love that we were able to connect. And like Mixers took a chance on me for this role. But then also contributed financially to find a mentor for me to learn the ropes of all things email and SMS and post-purchase and life cycle and all of the things. So yeah, I feel like Mixers is really good at investing in their employees. And that's just one example is finding a mentor to really help with kind of that initial hurdle.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Shout out to Liz.
Shout out Liz. We love her.
Yes. Yep, yep, yep. Yeah, she Mackenzie Bauer at Thread Wallets. I've been shouting her out up and down in this podcast just
Yeah.
because she's been great with connecting me and um when plugging me into other people she knows in the space. I don't know if you have come across her at all, but she's amazing if you can. Liz works with her as well.
Oh, cool.
So that's how I got introduced to Liz, and now through Liz, you.
Yeah.
Um, so I love that. Yeah. So mentors, one of the things that has influenced my perspective on, I guess, how quickly you can grow in a space is just one being thrown into the fire, right? Of just like, okay,
Yeah.
I know exactly this problem that I need to solve. And there's a couple of ways that you could, dive into it. But the quickest might be just asking someone, how would you look at this? Who's had, XYZ experience or years in the space. And what do you think in terms of like having that mentor relationship, but then getting comfortable in the technology and their new role and seeing all of these, like SMS, email, retention,
Mhm.
life cycle marketing, all of it, how many months would you say in, like, if you have a good gauge of like, oh, I could, like, I'm finding my way, I'm understanding a lot of it, and then past that, how many months was it from like, okay, now I'm like, I'm in it, I know what to do, how to execute, still have that mentor relationship for new
Yeah.
things that are popping up, but in terms of having that, I guess, confidence of like, okay, given a problem in this space,
Mhm.
now I like actually have a couple of ways that I could solve this first, and then maybe look to a mentor if it's not working out how I'm thinking about it.
Okay, that's a good question too.
This is everything I've asked myself. Most of these podcast questions are exactly that, of things where it's like, oh, interesting. Like, I'm noticing this for XYZ. Like, I wonder if anyone else,
Totally.
relates to this.
Yes. I feel like at the beginning when I started working with Liz, I was like, okay, cool. Like I have a really good grasp on, kind of setting those foundational building stones, if you will, of like creating some really solid flows that were not just like browse abandonment, cart abandonment, like
Right. Yeah.
and then I was like, okay, I feel like pretty good. But then it was like, just kidding, you don't know very much.
Yep.
So that's I kind of like that I've been able to just pick myself up and try different things. And I feel like I'm at a place where I don't by any means know all of the answers at this point in my career, but that's okay because I know how to find the answers. Whether that's reaching out to a mentor or a colleague or networking with other people, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's just a quick Goog.
Yep. Love a
Um,
quick Goog. Or like Slack communities as well. I know there's a lot of Slack communities focused on, trying to share the wealth of knowledge that everyone has in the space.
Totally. So, yeah, and I feel like you kind of get to a point where you're like, okay, I have been creative for these little projects and pushes and all the things. And then you can kind of use that to propel you into other areas and other projects that, are like adjacent, kind of similar. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So would you say because one of the things that I have become privy to is, and I think just the industry at large with rising acquisition costs has been focusing on retention. And I feel like lifecycle marketing really you focus on retention a lot.
Yeah.
So do you think that they're like, do you have any insight into how or why the life cycle responsibilities at Mixhers was kind of split amongst multiple people, and when it was decided to consolidate into and hire for like one role? And do you
Yeah.
think it like correlated with this, I guess, bigger e-commerce discussion around acquisition costs are rising, so we should focus on retention more? Or do you have any insight into kind of what Mixhers as a company was thinking at that time?
Yeah. That's a good question too. I think that, we're always looking to get new customers, and then how do we retain those customers? And I think that there was a couple of different strategies there and reasons why we were shifting. I think just as a business, we got to a point that we were like, okay, we are all wearing so many different hats, and we need to like really dial in on what are our lower CAC channels that have a higher ROAS. How can we focus in on those, not even just for ads, but just all of our channels in general? And email happened to be one of those. And so it was just kind of right fit at the right time, and I like got shooed in, and
Yep.
I love my job. And so figuring out different strategies for acquiring new customers, and then like I said, retaining them and trying to get, the most LTV that we can, was a huge pivot point. I also think, and this is maybe like a side tangent, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
but the other thing that Mixhers is a supplement company that's also a subscription-based company, right? So supplements are meant to be taken consistently to see optimal results. So a subscription makes sense.
Yep.
Um, and one thing that we were learning during that time is how can we add friction to the customer experience, which kind of sounds strange.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me about it.
Because usually people want to reduce friction, but when we're looking at things like churn and wanting to make sure that customers feel confident in their buying purchase, we actually, around the same time that I started email SMS marketing at Mixhers, was when we rolled out a product quiz. And so the product quiz is, we're asking lots of different questions, right? So we're asking like, I have a healthy libido, strongly agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. Or I drink plenty of water, or I eat enough vegetables, or whatever. And then it matches the customer with products recommended for their specific answers, their goals, that kind of thing. So adding the right amount of friction to the customer journey, we've been able to not only leverage better zero-party data, but also help customers feel confident in their purchase because they know that they're taking the supplements that are right for their unique needs, right? And we've seen like huge results from the quiz. We use Octane AI to run our product quiz, but we see people spending 30 to 40% more on an order. They have a greater conversion rate, and the quiz end page is a subscription only. So customers that purchase from the quiz turn into monthly recurring revenue for the business, which was also a huge goal, kind of going back to the original question of like, why are we switching this? Whatever, it's email's a lower CAC channel, with a really good ROAS.
Yeah.
Really good return on spend. And then, hello, my brain. And then, oh yes, then it converts really well as well. So pushing people to like a quiz or whatever kind of help funnel into that greater goal of getting new subscribers and new customers.
Yeah. Okay. So love it. I think it's a really interesting way to frame something as like you're adding friction, right? And that at first you would hear any CS person would be like, wait, you don't want to add friction, but the way in which you're doing so of getting more targeted in what products your consumers are buying is really smart. And did you say, so can you just re-say the part around, like they go to subscription automatically?
Yeah. So they take the quiz, right? They answer, based on their health, their needs. And, then the end page where they get the results, they get 3. So let's say they get recommended Her Time, Her Greens, and Her Digest. If they want to purchase those, they can purchase, just 1 or 2 or 3. But then it will turn those orders into a subscription. So they're subscribing.
Yep. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So it puts them to the subscription with their recommended products from the quiz. Okay.
Correct.
Amazing. Wanted to make sure I heard it right because you were, yeah. I was like, I'm loving all of this. So I wanted to make sure I got it right before. And I'm glad you mentioned Octane and AI. I was curious to hear, what tech, if there was any background tech powering that, which most times there is, especially in the Shopify ecosystem. So I think companies that are focused on subscription, or not even focused, but have a really smart subscription, like it makes a lot of sense to the consumers. I think it's always fascinating to hear because inherently there's like a retention play in subscriptions, right? In that, okay, totally. You're having someone who is, because your product is consumable, most consumable products can be on subscription, and that's quote unquote the most, I guess, normal industry to have subscriptions. But I also think it's interesting to see how some brands who aren't in the CPG vertical, or in a perhaps non-traditional subscription vertical, that they're finding these other ways to have subscribers and to try and work a repeatable purchase into their customer experience. I remember when I'm blanking on who it was, but like a cleaning service, right? Like where it's like a monthly cleaning service or something of the sort, or, like I think it might have been a jewelry brand. I can't remember, but like, okay, you're getting a new cloth that you clean, and it's like, right, a smaller AOV than jewelry, usually, if it's like a cleaning cloth or something of the sort. But I still think it's a really interesting thing to call attention to, where most things, if you can get creative enough with them, can have some type of subscription component to it.
Totally.
And so, but supplements, it makes a lot of sense because it's something that as a consumer, you want to, if you're going to start something, and especially if it's going to be something that is influential for your health, you're going to want to continue it, right? Because
Yeah.
you'll see the added benefit of long-term use. Um,
Yes.
so with when you put in that the quiz, did you
Mhm.
see like people were buying maybe products that weren't quote unquote in their like most recommended products for them? Like say someone is purchasing like her time, but then the quiz gives them three different products. Do you know if there was any indication of like the customer would then switch to just getting the three products, or then would get the like original product they'd purchased, and then perhaps three or any X amount of additional purchases from the review or from the quiz?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if I have like exact data on that, but I know that like looking at a traditional journey sense as like they don't take the quiz, they are purchasing her time, like what's their second most
Mm-hmm.
likely purchase to make. I don't know how closely aligned those are off the top of my head. But I do know that the quiz has made our customers feel more confident in their purchasing. So even if, they purchase her power or her time, and then their next likely purchase is going to be her power, if those are both recommended in the quiz, I'm not sure. Um, but it has made them feel more confident, especially placing a larger order because they're like, I know
Mm-hmm.
that these are supplements that are going to help me and benefit me.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that that has added a lot more value to their lives and more peace of mind.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I think that is such a it's something that maybe wouldn't be as quantifiable as something of like, okay, the 30, I think you said 30 to 40%
Mhm.
increase from the quiz, where you can like look at the data on the backhand, but unless customers are telling you that they feel more confident in the purchase,
Yeah.
it can be hard to kind of see that qualitative feedback. And
Mhm.
it's something that at Maloma we see a lot, where if a customer doesn't know where their order are, they're going to be frustrated. They're going to inbound to your support team of where's my
Right.
order, those Wismo tickets. And it's something as easy as, okay, a customer quiz that you can implement to get more of that zero party data, something that, or, a transactional email that you can proactively send someone so that they're not frustrated and they're confident in their purchase because they know, okay, I'm not getting scanned. This is like my purchase was on the way to me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna know exactly when it's coming my way. And then it kind of reduces some of that potential buyer's remorse, where it's like, especially with a bigger purchase, where you're like, oh
Yeah.
my God, what did I just purchase? And instead, with constantly keeping your brand and someone's purchase top of mind, you kind of you help in that like non
We don't want friction there.
quantifiable space. Yeah, no
No
friction
friction
there.
there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Only want confidence in the purchase while it's
Yes,
on the way to the buyer. Yeah, I love
absolutely.
it. So can you describe to me now then, let's dive into I guess like your biggest priorities as
Mhm.
um like looking into email, like all the different channels basically that you are in charge of. I
Yeah.
know we've been talking a lot about email, but SMS is also one of those things that um, is newer. There's
Mhm.
a higher cost associated with it, but can you kind of break down how you and Mixhers are looking at, when to message to your consumers?
Totally. So I'll let you in on a secret because I
Oh,
know when
please
this
do.
episode is coming out.
Love it. Yes.
So one of our biggest priorities right now at Mixers is we are going to be rebranding.
Oh,
So
exciting. Oh my
I
gosh.
know it's very, very exciting. We're just very excited to level up, and
Mm-hmm.
the growth that we've seen in all areas of the business is very exciting. And so we need to make sure that as a brand, we're like matching that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the biggest priorities, right now in email SMS is we are auditing our entire customer journey, which is
Mm,
very exciting because it's like, oh my gosh, we're going to like start from scratch. It's going to be good. We can like button up everything, make sure that it's flowing together, but it is a massive undertaking.
yes.
Across all areas of the business. Like the rebrand is not just touching me, it's touching everybody, and the team is crushing it so far. But I have been working very closely with one of my colleagues, Sav. She's incredible. She's a data queen. She does our customer experience. She oversees our customer support team. And together we're mapping out the flows, finding opportunities for growth, for further product related journeys and insights. And then just really mapping that out so that we can, in turn, gain further insights to
hmm
customer behavior when someone orders a product, and make sure that we have some cross-sell stuff set up, more education, because that's another thing that's very important in the supplement industry and supplement space is people need to understand why they're taking the product, the benefits, kind of setting those expectations and things like that. So as far as life cycle marketing, that touches everything that I'm doing. Is
Yes, very much so.
so it's very fun though.
Okay, wonderful. Are you allowed to say when this rebrand will happen, or it just will
Yeah.
be done by the time this podcast airs?
I need to look at the exact date, but it's like in May.
Okay, okay.
May.
Yep.
But we are
That's
we're
fine
we're
enough.
seeing
Yep.
it. Yes, yes. I think that we've by this point we've posted a little bit on our social media, so we can check out there and can see
Yeah.
some updated stuff.
Okay, wonderful. Putting out some teasers. Yes, love
Yes,
it.
yes.
So what insights with the rebrand? I know you just said it touches everything. What
Mhm.
insights do you have an idea of what insights you're looking into specifically right now in terms
Yeah.
of, like trying to, I know you just mentioned upsells and or cross sells and then education.
Mhm.
But yeah, how are you gonna try and I guess
Yeah.
see pre-rebrand and post-rebrand?
Yeah. So I mean, logistically, we're creating like two separate flows so we can kind of see the analytics side by
Mm-hmm.
side. A couple of the big things that we're looking at are, looking at retention and how we can weave retention, how we can weave cross sells, education, really just nurturing our customers through any touch point of their journey. And that includes mapping out things like what does a 30, 60, 90-day product journey look like for this customer? And if they order her time, how can we make sure that they're getting her time related content and resources? And so that's been huge in kind of reigniting and and redoing a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So is that I guess in all areas of the customer experience, like you're looking at like pre-purchase, like first time buyer pre-purchase, acquiring that
Yes.
consumer.
Mhm.
Yeah, like gap between if they're on subscription versus if they're not, looking
Mhm.
at those differences, and then post-purchase as well, making sure that you're nurturing wherever someone is in the customer experience.
Yeah, the entire life cycle, everything that you just mentioned. And even in our campaigns, which is something that, we're shifting and we're really looking at like, who are we talking to? And how can we further segment in our communication so that it's like, how do we make the message that they need to receive land in their inbox at the right time, which is always like the $1 million question, right?
Yep.
And so one thing that we've been doing is even segmenting out, are they an active product subscriber or are they a lead? Are they a one-time purchaser? Like, who are they? And then
hmm
sending those different campaigns and speaking to them as that person. Like, they are an active subscriber. So we don't want to say like, become a subscriber today and get da 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 da. Like, no, they're already a subscriber. So when they get that message, they're going to be annoyed.
Yep. Yeah.
Then reaching out to them and just being like, hey, add to your subscription for this benefit, da 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 da. That is going
hmm
to land so much better. And we've seen a huge change and a very big shift there, even from inbound customer support tickets of complaints or issues or things that maybe were an oversight, just that were solved by segmenting better.
Yep. Yeah. Segmenting is one of those things where if you could do it and you could do it right, it's a major unlock for a brand. And
Yeah.
yeah, being able to segment. based off of the customer profile is one of those things where, yeah, I feel like it's kind of irrefutable that the value that the consumer sees and that the brand sees as well, because it just makes
Totally.
it so much easier for you all to, you have this idea of a campaign that you want to run of like, okay, now we know and have confidence that we can segment out by these different customer profiles.
Totally.
So I wanted to ask you because it is rare that we get someone who also has a mobile app component to their
Yeah.
brand. And so I want to know all about that because we've had a few on this show, but it isn't super, super typical. So can you talk to me about just like the process of rolling that out and getting people on the app? I'm sure it's still something you all are figuring out and continuously iterating on the same way as everyone is about every single communication channel.
Right.
But yeah, I wanna hear kind of what role that's played in the company goals and
Yeah.
how you all are approaching it.
Totally. So I'll preface this by saying this is just the beginning of it. I feel like we have
Mm-hmm.
just scratched the surface and there's so much room for optimization and further improvements within our app. Um, but it also costs a lot of money. So we
Yep.
are, as we're rebranding and all of these things, like we're just very cautious of and conscious of how we're doing that. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest goals I would say for our app was to collect zero-party data from customer usage and symptom improvement over time. So in the Mixhers app, they can track their menstrual cycle. They get insights about what phase they are in, what cycle they're in. And then they can track their symptoms. So
Mm-hmm.
as they're taking, and then what Mixhers products they're consuming.
Yep.
So then if someone's taking her time, again, we'll use that one as an example.
Mm-hmm.
If they're taking her time, they can track, I've taken her time today. I didn't feel as bloated. Maybe I still had a headache. And then over time, after 3 months or after 6 months of using her time, they can be like, wow, like I haven't tracked bloating in the last 3 months. Like, how cool is that?
Mm-hmm.
So seeing that symptom improvement over time and kind of we wanted the app to like increase the valuation of our brand, of course, and then also garner product validation data from our user inputs. So as people were using her time, we wanted them to see over time that her time was working. And then it just like makes them even more of a brand champion and build that brand trust and loyalty because they can see that the product is benefiting their life.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. Do you know? So, just a couple rapid fire questions. Did
Yeah.
you, for the app development, was it in house or outsourced? Because I feel
So
like that would be a big undertaking,
yeah, it
right?
was outsourced. We worked with, and I didn't like oversee the app, all of that side of things. So like, I can't speak like 100% to this, but
Yeah.
it was outsourced. We used somebody to create it. But like we told them everything that we wanted it to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rollout. I think that you asked me about the rollout and I like skipped over that entirely. But we our community of Mixhers fans really rallied for us and we, had different campaigns go out. We kept it in our email footer for a long time, pushing people to download the app.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was different perks as well within the app. So we use Yotpo for loyalty and referrals program. And if they track in the app the products that they're using, the symptoms, that type of thing, they get points for tracking in the app.
Mm,
So that was
cool.
like another perk of the app, is earning those loyalty points. And then another huge lever for us is the push notifications for revenue capture. So you can do a push notification. It keeps your brand top of mind. It's not nearly as expensive as SMS.
Yeah.
And then there's a shop experience directly in the app, as well as like education hub and things like that. So, like I said, there's definitely things that we want to improve on, and it's very, very exciting. But in the same breath, I'm like, oh, but wait, like just wait, just wait,
Yeah.
because it's good.
There's always something, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's exciting. By the time this is rare that I get to announce something preemptively on this podcast, but we're actually launching with Yotpo next week. And
Oh my gosh.
so by the time that this podcast is live, it won't be a surprise.
Yeah.
But funny that you just brought it up. As you're talking about your surprise and rebranding.
Yeah.
I love the use case of the gaining points while
Mm.
you're tracking because it's a
Yeah.
win-win, right? Like you all are setting out and accomplishing what you all want to do with getting more insight into how your consumers are using the product. And then they're also getting the added, they meaning consumers, they're getting the added benefit of tracking and like seeing that for themselves, validating the product on their end of things, and
Mhm.
then also getting points with you all to continue their journey in consuming their supplements. Um, is the so is the app free to use for consumers?
It is. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. So, yep, you can push someone to use that, like you said, in all the different channels that you are pushing. And then do you know, and totally okay if you don't, because I'm putting you on the spot, what percent ish of consumers are using the app versus not? It's okay if you don't know.
Yeah, I actually don't know off the top of my head. I'm
It's
so
okay.
sorry.
I'm putting you on the spot. That's part of the fun of this, right? Um, so okay, yeah. I would be curious to hear, as I'm sure your team is looking into all of that. But it is very interesting to see, and especially like tracking. I know the Apple Health app like has you can track your menstrual cycle and like things like that. So it's a very, and there's other apps as well, but it's interesting to have the, I guess, relatability of the product that you are consuming and then also how that is affecting you. I've heard, like I said, some brands having mobile apps to have like a mobile shopping experience. Um, and one of them that stands out is with Marty, which they're an online marketplace.
Mhm.
Um, but I haven't heard of someone doing what you all are doing and taking a supplement and then being able to track how it's affecting you.
Yeah.
So I think it's really, really cool. Really, I think a great channel that is wins across the board. So I'll be curious, as you all continue to dig a little bit deeper into what that experience looks like. Because I know you mentioned it's just scratching the surface, but
Yeah. Stay
what that'll
tuned
look
for
like.
V2 of the app.
Yeah. I always make this joke, but I'll continue to do it. I'll be like, that'll be for the next podcast episode. We can have a follow up.
Yes. Yeah.
See how things are going. Yeah. We'll have the rebrand in place, the Malomo Yapo integration launch, all of that good stuff. Um, so a little bit of a pivot because now I'm just going through questions that I'm curious to get your opinion on. Can you walk us through, because we've been talking about more of the um like nurture side of things, of customers making sure that they have all the content, all the they're aware of all the programs that you all are offering alongside your products. Can you walk us through what returns and exchanges looks like in the grand scheme of things? I know this isn't something that you are super super detailed on in the day to day
Yeah.
experience, but I always think it's interesting just to hear how like broken up by sector, how returns and exchanges are thought about.
That's a really good question as well. Look at you. It's like
I
this is your job
it's
or something.
almost like I do this for a living.
Every time I'm like, wow, what a good question.
Thank you. I will take that. This is a Thursday afternoon and it feels great.
Yes,
Ending my
absolutely.
day with this. Yeah.
So I oversaw returns and exchanges when I first joined Mixhers, which again was like 2.5 years ago. And I feel like it's an entirely different process now. But when I was customer support manager, um, returns are hard. Like I feel like that
Mm-hmm.
is one piece of the business that is not talked about nearly enough
Yep.
and is quite frankly such a mess. Like it can be so messy. It can be
That's
so
so
frustrating
real.
for the
Yep.
customer. Like I'm irritated when I have to return something. Um, Sav, who I mentioned earlier on my team, she's amazing. Like she should be the next
Shout
podcast.
her out. Yeah.
Shout out Sav. But she oversees customer support and then also the process and execution of returns and exchanges. And I know that we just recently implemented Redo, um,
Mm.
which essentially like is the customer paying for a return label as like an insurance type of vibe. I don't know, I'm probably
Uh-huh.
botching that, but I know that she in our last team stand up said that returns are down like a significant amount.
Wow.
And because of this, and it's been a lot there's a lot less friction there.
Yep, there we go. That's where we want it.
That's where
Where we
don't
don't
want
want it.
yeah, don't want friction there. So, but as far as like the percentage of returns and things that's coming back, I know that it's gone down significantly and is, you all know, you just improve over time.
Mhm. Yep. Funny how you learn things, right?
How you grow.
Yep. Yep. Okay. I want to keep chatting because it seems like we just started this call, but I'm going to wrap us up because this has been a great conversation. And I always, always, always want to continue chatting, but that is not their current reality. So we'll have to wait until that next podcast episode, hear how things are going. But before I do so, do you have any other surprises or things that you want to share with our listeners before we wrap up here today?
I think the only other exciting launch that's coming up is right when this podcast comes out, we will be starting our warming for collagen, and we're launching a new product, collagen, which will be the first product launch in over a year or in about a year. So very exciting.
Awesome.
Gonna be really good. I think it's like
Yes.
vanilla and there's like a raspberry one, I think.
Ooh, yummy.
So
Okay.
yeah, stay tuned for collagen.
Okay, love it. Thank you for that. Good luck with the launch. It's been a blast having you here with us, Dallas. And I cannot wait to learn even more from you as we continue on this ecom journey. But I know our listeners will really appreciate your insights here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.
Oh, good. I'm so glad to hear it.